What does Slavo mean? Yes.
Slavo, man.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know? I love it.
No, man. I know, but I think the essence of the music most times is to show and not tell.
Yeah. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Afro Soul Stories. This week, I am joined by a very interesting guest whose story stems from Nigeria and the UK and also Switzerland. He's a musician, a poet, someone whose lyrics and identity mean a lot to him. And his career has been very storied. Also includes, as well as music, a life in the legal profession. And I know he's been working as a human rights lawyer in both Nigeria and his time studying in Geneva. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Mide Johnson, how are you?
Great, thank you.
Cool. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Just taking it in,
Taking it in. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, this has been wonderful. Yeah.
Happy to be here.
I'm very, very glad to have met you because we met at a conference a few weeks back, and you were the first person I met as I walked in.
Yeah.
And it's been a very serendipitous meeting because I've had a chance to now listen to some of your music, and we've talked about life off camera. We're not going to talk about it on camera. Yeah. So talk to me about life growing up, family life, and how you got into music, and also the law. Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. To start with how the universe works. Because, you said you worked and you know how Nigerians are very, hey, how are you doing? You know? And so all of that, snowballing into this, it's beautiful. I think I wanted to note that. So perhaps that also is the story of my life, one thing leading to another, and finding myself here. I was raised in Ibadan. You listened to the song Ibadan Blues earlier, and that's sort of like, would I say, sort of influenced my life up until this point. And I think the very dynamic aspect of my growing up is the fact that as much as I was raised in Ibadan, we lived a very, it wasn't sheltered, but I would say regimented life.
Yes,
middle-class parents, school,
quite
back home. But, you sort of observe the outside world. You're not a partaker, but you sort of observe it very much. And it sort of, it stays with you, through and through. So, that was my early life.
Do you find that has moved into your lyrics as someone who can observe things and comment?
Yeah. I think observing in itself, has its form of privilege, It's not spoken about much. Because we live in a world where, of course, the accolades go to those who do.
Yes, of course.
I think I'm perhaps at a point in my life now where I do a lot more doing, through human rights law, through music, through academics as well. But I think the early years, observing, being under the sheltered wings of my very strong mom, has also sort of informed how I go about the doing, so,
Very cool.
I think that's what it is.
Now, talking about the doing, because you have done a lot, and I know that after your time in Nigeria, your studies took you to Geneva. How was your time in Geneva? I know you made some music there as well, so talk to me about that.
Man, it's funny how identity sort of flows, and it depends on the type of vessel you put it in, just like liquid, and it takes on a different shape.
It could be sort of steam,
ice. It's still the same composition, but, in a sense, it's sort of like it metamorphoses based on the environment. And I'd say perhaps Geneva was one of the, I think it was when the idea of blackness really settled upon me. And blackness in also a very paradoxical sense. And I think that's why I would call my life a paradox, because as much as I could say, okay, I'm black in Geneva, but I also have access to the UN walls, and also I know that when the police comes up to me, like they would typically come up to my brothers, I have perhaps the privilege of being able to say, oh, I'm a lawyer, or, articulate my way out of it. But also, like I said, being able to observe, So a lot of the stories I could tell perhaps on the record, of course, were a reflection of my story,
Mm-hmm.
of what my fate could have been.
Yeah.
But also importantly, the stories of people just like me, but because I had perhaps, a bit of the privilege to observe or not to be treated precisely in that same way,
Yeah.
also gave me the privilege to speak out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think knowing how to react or how not to react is often how one can deal with certain scenarios. And so how you spent 2 years in Geneva? Is that correct? So how was that? Was it a culture shock initially moving there?
Yeah.
And
I was actually going to react to the reaction
Okay.
yesterday when you said Jinx. Because, sometimes the privilege of reaction in itself, or the way to go about reaction is not perhaps something that you can impose on the oppressed or the recipient, if we were speaking about in the context of, social injustice. So as much as I could say, okay, I had like a measured way to react in certain cases, but even that in itself, could, like I stated, privilege as well. People who have to face it. If you have your face on the street, that's nobody tailors or no, you don't. The concept of rationality or logic in how you react,
can sometimes go out the window.
It's a bit of a privilege in that sense. But back to the question.
I was talking about your initial period in Geneva and how it felt. Yeah, what did it feel like moving from Lagos to Geneva?
Yeah, to Geneva. I think it was a choice from the first day.
Yeah.
It was like, do we give them Mide Johnson, the lawyer,
Yeah.
and the one raised in the very academic family, or do I go to the jazz club down the street and hang out with this, with this bunch of people?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest. I'm glad I made that second choice.
Yeah.
Because of course I got the diploma. I didn't drop out, thankfully. But also I think even bigger than the diploma, I was able to sort of because there's a difference between the school of life and the school in the classrooms.
Course,
and I think there's one story that would stay with me. I'm stepping out of class, at the University of Geneva. Of course, fancy classes with a lot of Europeans. They have like a handful of like 4 or 5 Africans, come around. The ones on the scholarship. So it's a human rights class. I'm stepping out and I see a sort of like, is it the school security? Call the cops on this homeless, black man. And everybody was walking away, It's like that parable in the Bible where
invisible.
Yeah, and like we just learned about this, and I had to stay because of course that's my brother. I went around to find like the police, stations across town to see
what happens.
What happens. I could be of help.
That's really interesting. Yeah, because I think that so often the marginalized can become invisible.
Yeah.
And even though you say you just walked out of a human rights class, and yet everybody dismissed it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
And especially when, because, for most people, and perhaps the logical thing, and I think which is why I brought up the story about the Good Samaritan in the Bible, the priest walked by, everybody walked by, and then the least expected of persons, decided to stay. I think in the context of the world, in the context of life, which is probably something that makes my story very interesting, why do I have a choice whether or not to respond if I'm a human rights lawyer?
Yeah.
How have we sort of compartmentalized the question of human rights law, or even persons who are supposed to stand up for people, for them to think, oh, that's not my business. Why should I be applauded for staying?
Of course, whereas it's just decency.
That's human decency. So, think back to the initial question. I think day one was deciding, okay, am I gonna be what my mother will hope I don't do right now, or am I just gonna stick my head in the books? But I think I did both, really.
I think now we're gonna talk about some music, 'cause I think you did do both. Yeah. So having looked at your discography and some of the singles that you've released, you made music in your time in Geneva. And talk to me about the singles that you released, and Your time there. I've got it written down, but my screen's just come back.
Yeah, that's completely fine.
Okay, so I have from the beginning, "Love on the Weekend" is the first track that I have on my list, followed by a track called 44 and a track called "Sad."
Sad.
You want to talk about "Sad"?
I mean, man, Sad is a whole memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sad was actually just before going into Geneva.
Yeah.
But then I think the very first thing I did in Geneva was like a jazz infused track called Calvin Kleins.
Okay, yeah, I saw that on the EP. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then he made its way to the EP. And I think you could tell it was the beginning because it was more of a personal story.
Mhm.
It was more of, oh yeah, I made it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made it out. And, basically, I think like you said, which perhaps has given me the time to actually reflect right now on what my choices would be at the beginning. Because I remember that there was a line from Calvin Kleins which says, make a difference or make a living.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
And now that's funny because I didn't even know, that I was actually perhaps facing some form of dilemma, but you've made me actually go back in a sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I want you to talk about it, but that's a great line. Yeah, make a difference or make a living. Yeah. Because I think there is a pragmatic way of going about the utilization of a higher education.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also, I think, with being an artist, there's a consciousness with how you interact with people and observe and tell. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, very interesting. So I noticed that, okay, I kind of want to go through some of the songs because there's quite a few things here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about "Sad," and that was your period of just going into Geneva. And then the one track that I really, really want to talk about was Ibadan Blues. Yeah. So this was, again, written in Geneva with a vocalist called Emerald.
Yeah.
So another Yoruba Nigerian artist based in Geneva.
She's actually Igbo, which is beautiful, though.
She sings in Yoruba for that track.
Yoruba, yeah. I mean, she deserves like a whole
a round of applause.
like a laurel for that, to be fair. But yeah.
So you met her in Geneva?
Yeah, I met her in Geneva.
Did you meet are there many Nigerians in Geneva, or West Africans or Africans in general?
Not many. We tend to go to the countries where our colonizers...
my sister lives in Basel.
Oh, yeah, but you weren't colonized by the Germans, were you?
Yeah, she speaks weird Swiss Deutsche, yeah. She's lived there for 20 years.
Oh.
Yeah. And I visit often, yeah.
I'd say there weren't many Nigerians.
Yeah.
There's also actually a line on Calvin Klein where I speak about... Oh man, I'm trying to remember Calvin Kleins right now. Shame on me, because I used to, have the lyrics on and but basically, I'm telling a story about this brother, I think from Benin Republic or Senegal, but it was an African country, and how because he speaks French, so which was also another issue with Geneva. I'm observing I want to speak, but I speak predominantly English. I have very little, knowledge of French. And to speak to him, I had to speak through a friend who, white Canadian, grew up, of course, in Montreal, Quebec, and that's how I could communicate with my brother. And that was sad for me. That was really sad for me. So I think in that sense, as much as, of course, there were a lot of like Francophone Africans in Geneva, I don't think there were many many Nigerians as such, because, more Anglophone will probably tend to go to the UK.
Yeah.
So perhaps meeting Emerald was one of those rare things.
And the fact that she was a musician also.
And that she could sing so well.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. It's interesting talking about the separation by language of people on the continent and in the diaspora. I mean, as you know, I'm Ghanaian, you're Nigerian, but we are surrounded by Francophone countries. And, in Ghana, we have relatives in the Togolese side, and I'm sure you may have relatives in the Beninese side. Yeah, and it's very interesting how, the Europeans did divide us, and they use language so effectively to disrupt communication.
Yeah, because what's crazy is you've got Yoruba people as well, just outside of the border.
Of course.
In Benin Republic. I mean, Angelique Kidjo is an example.
Of course, yeah.
The Egon people, and Yeah, it's crazy, which is why I think I've heard a lot about why we are the only ones ever banting Nigerians and Ghanaians, because like
Because we both speak English.
Yeah, we speak
Yeah,
English.
exactly. Yeah, I know.
This
That's
is
why
natural.
there's this, you know, I always say we're cousins, West African cousins.
Yeah, we're
you know?
cousins. We're the noisemakers in the West African bloc.
Yeah,
Because I mean, you speak my language, so why not?
You know?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. That's
Fair.
very, very cool, man. So talking about projects that you've done, I noticed that you've released a bunch of singles between 2021 and 2025, but it culminated in an EP, the Slavo EP, that you released in 2025. So this year. So talk to me about, what does Slavo mean? Yes,
Slavo, man.
Yeah,
Good question.
yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know? I love it.
No, man, I know, but I mean, I think the essence of the music most times is to show and not tell.
Yeah.
Because you can't take the place of the listener.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's your gift. It's your duty to gift the listener the
opportunity
to observe as well.
Yeah.
You know, so as much as I can speak on an issue, I still very much understand that I need to leave some space for him to fill it up.
Very
you know, it's the same way as a producer yourself. You leave space for me to rap on the
Yeah.
project.
I try not to get in the way.
Yeah, you try not to. Thank you for not overdoing it and giving me space to make my creativity, you know, sort of, you know, shine through. I think is the same gift we have as creators or artists, or, you know, whatever, to also give the listener, you know, be of like a feedback.
Yeah.
The idea really was just to tell it. It's still a story, you know, happening. You know, Slavo is unfinished. I am actually working on an EP now called Love and Revolution.
Yes, you told me about this.
Yeah, but because that was the pre-Slavo EP, which is supposed to be a prelude to the album. But then I went back to Lagos for 5 months, also very defining aspect of my life. And I just told myself, okay, I might have the material, the skill for the Slavo album, but, you know, I don't have the clout. So let's be realistic. You know, we could push this back a bit further. So just got some of that material to make into the Love and Revolution. But yes, Slavo has been me for 2 years, you know. Has been an understanding of self, has been how you react to the world around you, but not do that from a place of victimhood, you know. I think the biggest resistance you could have, which is crazy and many people might not agree, is that as much as these things have been done to us, very understandable, but, you know, how exactly could we work around? Because, you know, the concept of self-deprecation, the concept of generational trauma have become so normalized because this has been done to me. So my resistance, my revolution is honestly a very high level, or like a high degree of self-love.
Yes.
You know, a high degree of self-worth. Yeah, self-worth, of self-control as well, and control around the things, control of things around me, because, you know, I would not live my life, you know, telling myself this is what is handed to me. And it's, I'm not saying we shouldn't fight. You know, we should definitely have to speak up, but I think alongside fighting, you know, we could also work around instances where we, you know, we sort of do things for ourselves.
Definition of self-identity. You touched upon something actually really interesting, very briefly. You said that after you wrote this, you went back to Nigeria. So how did it feel to go back to Nigeria after having spent some time in Geneva? Talk to me about how that felt.
That's probably been the hardest part of my life in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Especially because you go home and then you realize, oh, there's a lot of catching up to do. And also, I don't want to make the mistake of a savior's complex to not realize that I see myself in my people as well.
Yeah, of course.
I may have been able to access certain experiences, may have been able to access certain material that will help me look at things differently. You know, however, the way I communicate this would also be super important. But, you know, coming back, I was just frustrated. You know, for instance, the access to these spaces where I could, you know, make music, you know, have amazing conversations like this, where either super monetized or super nepotized, you know? And you're like, man, I'm just trying to preach, you know? So yeah, that was definitely frustration.
Yeah.
Even had to cut off my locks so that I don't get profiled as well. Real story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, real story.
Did you cut them off in Geneva or in when you got back?
That's the irony.
When you
in
got
Lagos.
back? Yeah.
I went through the UN, went through working at the UN with, my freeform locks on. And the reason why I had to cut, these locks, which is, a very essential aspect of our identity, was when I was home.
Do you know, it's funny. I think a lot of people don't realize how conservative West Africa is. Yeah. People are very conservative. Yeah. This came up in conversation with my friend Mensa, who's a Ghanaian artist, and we were talking about it. And people, the phrase he came up with was like, "Oh yeah, we don't do that here."
We don't do that.
We don't do that here. Oh, that's so interesting. Now, I know you spent a lot of time in London as well.
Yeah.
So how did you come to London? And talk to me about, I know you've played your first shows here.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to me about that.
Damn, memories, man.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot of nostalgia right now. So used to come around as a kid, we're Nigerians, so this is the most natural place to go would be London.
Everyone goes London shopping.
Yeah, go to Primark and bring chocolates back home for the cousins. But yeah, so there was that aspect, being like the very first, type of home outside of, Ibadan and Lagos. But then I'll come back for school shortly in 2021. And, I think I sort of told my parents I was here for school, but to be fair,
London's London.
Yeah.
It's a city of creativity.
Yeah, it's a city of creativity. And, shout out to my parents, honestly, understanding the type of sacrifice.
Yeah, of course.
They're putting into having me access opportunities that, they ordinarily would not have been able to access.
Yeah, of course.
But I think that period, much like Geneva, was, also schooling, with being a creative at Serpentine Gallery in West
we
London.
talked about this.
Yeah.
So you said you had some experiences with the Ghanaian photographer. James
Barnor.
Yeah,
he's a legend.
Yeah.
I hope he sees this,
Oh, I'd love him to see it. I'd love to come to talk to him. Yeah. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. So it was actually around the time when I was going around venues, and of course I did the show here in London, 2021, which is 4 years now. But yeah, of course, so it also coincided with the time we were at Serpentine. So what happened with Serpentine Gallery was that I think they sort of brought together about like 19 creatives from minority communities around London. And, the idea was to sort of come up with creative work around James Barnor's ideas and work.
Fantastic. Now, were these creatives from different disciplines? So musicians as well as maybe visual artists as well?
Yeah, different. It was so interesting, spoken word poetry, ceramics as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Photography, videography, even folks who did like events management.
Yeah.
It was such a community. I miss it.
Cool.
Very cool. I've got friends from that period up until date,
Yeah, if you have that experience together,
Of course.
Do you know, I just recently went to the Tate to see the Nigerian exhibition.
The modernism.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
So if anyone's watching this, we are now in November 2025, and there's a big exhibition at the Tate of Nigerian modernism.
You should go sit.
Yeah, check it out. So we have a new project coming up. So Love and Revolution, and it's not quite spelled revolution. You got
Yeah, it's very Gen Z.
It's very tech
Gen
speak.
Z.
Talk to me about this, and talk to me about how it's coming along. Now, I've heard 2 tracks from there. I really like the track Engagement, which I've written down is a smooth reggae-tinged track with a hint of classical influences and luscious strings.
Yeah.
With tales of love and comfort featuring Femi and Chimdi. Is that a good approximation?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I feel like I'm being reviewed by Rolling Stones right now. Thank you.
I love the classical strings at the beginning.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I like your attention to detail as well.
I listen. Yeah. But it was nice. It was like a smooth sort of lovers rock reggae thing.
Yeah, that's the intention.
Yeah.
So when I got back home,
Mm-hmm.
and I think because I'm also a very spiritual person,
Mm-hmm.
and spirit not in the context of the white man's religion,
Yeah.
but like in the context of God,
Mm-hmm.
and the beauty is deposited in all of us,
Yeah.
the Creator.
Yeah, nature.
And
Nature is the one for me. Yeah.
yeah, nature's the one for you. Nice.
Yeah.
You've got a little plant close by.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you could pray to it.
You know.
But that's beautiful. I mean, we could go into that.
Yeah.
We could go. I feel like there's a lot to talk about in that regard. But I feel like I went home and I felt the Creator, or God wanting me to sort of, because also each time I tried, like I told you, with like Nigerian spaces,
Yeah.
it was either too monetized or too nepotized,
Yeah.
and I was like, you know what? Maybe this is the period where I take time to sort of reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Something comes from that reflection. I put it down.
Yeah.
And also, for some reason, my studio equipment were not working,
Mhm.
So I'd spend time writing,
Mhm.
time interacting with the environment.
Yeah.
Myself and Femi, who was
Yeah.
featured on the track, remarkable voice.
Yeah.
We used to sing together when I was 10.
Yeah.
So it's
Cool.
like, hey man, it's been 2
Yeah.
decades. I mean, 1.5 decade come around,
Very
and and then there's Chimdi, who actually plays for Femi Mide Kuti.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a fella's grandson.
Wow.
Yeah, so he plays the guitar for
Fantastic.
Made, and we all just sort of like
Yeah.
created this
Very cool.
beautiful thing called Love and Revolution.
Yeah.
So that's the composition aspect, but I think thematically, more like a prelude in a sense to Slavo,
Okay.
because you can't wait around all your life.
Yeah.
There's the need to be proactive as well. So
Mhm.
I just felt like having a bit of a cutout,
Mm-hmm.
giving the people a bit of a taste.
It's great, man.
Yeah.
Always creating.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, from everything that I've seen, you've been very active since 2021, and it's continued. You've had a lot of releases in 2025.
Actually, I would say I've been active since 2018.
Aha, you see. Okay, now let's talk about
Nigeria. Let's talk about
let's
that.
talk about this. So I've got your Spotify here
Yeah.
with tracks from 2021, but I know that everybody has these dual careers where they've been writing for a long time.
Yeah, I would say even 2018 in itself is not even a fair estimate, because I know 2018 was the first time I had like an officially released track, and that was SoundCloud.
Yeah.
We didn't really have like Spotify access, in years like that.
Yeah.
In those early years, I think, Apple Music, Spotify sort of became a thing more 2019, 2020 for me at least.
Yeah.
So 2018, I actually had a project called Not Today in 2019. Damn, this is amazing because it's great to see
To remember all
how
these
the
things.
journey has come. And the quality of the music as well. And then actually just before the pandemic, I had something called 21 and a half.
Cool.
So Slavo would be my third EP actually.
There you go.
And then so I think Love on Weekends is sort of music I started making after 21 and a half.
Yeah.
So these were sort of the songs that were making it to the streaming platforms, as opposed to just
the
SoundClouds or the Audio Max.
Do you know, it's funny, it's interesting though, because I think everybody's had this sort of evolution from, I mean, look at someone like, let's say, Billie Eilish, started on that track on SoundCloud. And SoundCloud is such an accessible thing for everybody and anybody, it's, you just put it on SoundCloud and
ASAP.
you can share it with your friends and see what happens, and then Spotify is you're taking things a bit more seriously.
Because he also has like, I think, a bit of a waiting period. He doesn't upload instantly.
Yes, true. SoundCloud's very, very immediate.
Instant.
It's very, very immediate.
It's like tweeting your music.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I always find it, I mean, technology has democratized music in so many ways. And I think for music, for people on the continent of Africa, it's been a real spark of creativity. I mean, what you can do now with a laptop, you can get release-ready tracks, with some thought and a little bit of hard work on a laptop. Whereas back in the day, recording to tape was extremely expensive and, having full studios and the whole thing. Sure. You have some very, very interesting music coming out with this beat-oriented, a lot of new hip-hop and, very cool, man. Very, very cool. Yeah. So what should we be expecting from you in the future? Any live shows?
Live shows. actually policy-wise, and this is probably why we should never divest the music from politics.
Yeah.
I think recently, because I'm doing my PhD now at
Yes.
King's,
Yeah.
so if you're an international student,
Mhm.
you're not allowed to actually do
work.
live shows
Yeah, work. Yeah.
in the UK.
Yeah, of
Are
course.
you allowed to work?
You
You can work actually, but
Really?
you cannot do live shows. You
Really?
cannot perform. Yeah.
Really? Talk to me about this.
Thank God this is not getting mainstream because,
Yeah, it's interesting.
yeah, you cannot perform music.
Why not?
So I could perform music 4 years ago when I came in as a student.
Is
Well,
this
like
a
with-
recent change?
This is a recent change.
Wow. What's the this has now intrigued me. So what's the exact policy? Is it?
Honestly, I don't know because
Wow.
it is also perhaps something we need to look into. So if you
Yeah.
look at perhaps one of the tracks on Love and Revolution,
Yeah.
it speaks about how, because there's a lot of literature,
Mhm.
there's a lot of talk around the concept of blackness
Yeah. Yeah.
in Europe,
Mhm.
but I think also we need to pay attention to the concept of Africanness,
Mhm.
with folks who just got here in recent years,
Mhm.
and how, as much as, of course, we're all co-joined, we all identify as black people, as
Sure, of course,
Africans, they also had to deal with the concept of not having an European passport
Mhm.
and the sort of limitations that they had to face.
Yeah.
So it's also very intersectional.
Yeah, of course.
So in that regard, you have these policies come up, which I believe, of course, for ethnic minorities,
Mhm.
I believe we still need to do a lot more work
Yeah.
policy-wise,
Yeah.
But also imagine the gap,
Mhm.
that ethnic minorities face, especially black people.
Mhm.
And then imagine the bigger gap
Mhm.
that, Africans who, although they are ethnic minorities,
Yeah.
they are not, from here,
Yeah, of
what
course.
they have to face. So
Yeah.
sometimes I think it's great for the community, not necessarily to look past itself,
Mhm.
but to look meticulously at every aspect of itself.
Yeah.
Because I want to believe the Asians sort of look out for
Yeah.
the new folks coming.
Yeah.
But we look at the new folks coming and we say, oh yeah, fresh off the boat.
Fresh off the boat. Interesting.
And so there's the need to look into that because I don't see why, actual talents, because it's music. So I told my manager this, she's based in Geneva,
Mhm.
and she's shocked. Like, it makes zero sense to her because we were doing like
Yeah.
bare shows, like we were selling out,
Yeah.
in Geneva
That's crazy.
while I was studying.
Yeah.
So she's like, how the hell will someone take your freedom of expression from you, your ability to perform
Yeah, this is
something
I have to really look into.
Yeah,
You
man.
know. Now, interestingly enough, we were talking off camera. I know that you've performed at Fête de la Musique.
Yeah,
Yeah. So how was that? When was that? And how was that?
that was, I think, actually before Fête de la Musique
Yeah.
became so mainstream right
Do you know,
now.
I had a very good friend of mine who's a guest, and 411 Silks is a rapper with Ghanaian heritage, and we talked about how he had such a great time at Fête de la Musique.
Yeah,
And yeah, how was your experience there?
mine was Geneva.
Yeah. Oh, the Fête de la Musique in Geneva.
Yeah, because it's more of a French thing.
Yeah, it's
it's
more
a
a French
World
thing.
French World Music Day, but like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
in France and Geneva, Switzerland as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was dope. It was actually the first place I ever performed Ibadan.
Okay.
I actually finished up Ibadan
Yeah.
because you do a show, and like me, I'm so perfectionist, so
Yeah.
I'm watching myself perform as well.
Yeah.
To take home and have a sit down with my manager, and we're like,
Okay,
okay,
right, okay, what are we gonna do?
we
Yeah.
should have done better there. That was nice. Change that. So I think I just sold out like my first show.
Cool.
Fête de la Musique was coming up like a month after,
Yeah.
and I think predominantly I remember that the show was gonna rain that day.
Mm-hmm.
So I checked the weather forecast and like
Yeah.
I'm nervous, yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm headlining.
We're
I'm
outside.
I'm nervous, and we're outside,
Yeah.
because it's summer, yeah. And it's beautiful how. So I wrote the Ibadan Blues. This is the story behind the Ibadan Blues. I'd written a part of it back home, so I completed it just for Fête de la Musique, so I could
Fantastic.
add it to the set.
Yeah.
And
Good to
then
have a deadline.
yeah, I had a deadline. I'm like, oh yeah, this has to finish. But pressure, I love,
Yeah.
to do these things. And then so it's reserved. It's the last song on the set.
Yeah.
And then we're playing this song. Of course, show is coming to a close.
Mhm.
Call and response.
Yeah.
The crowd is going wild,
Yeah.
and the rain starts pouring.
Oh.
No, which is
That's a
beautiful.
good thing. It's like that Prince moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
the
the
Prince Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Yeah. And rain
Fantastic.
starts falling like at the very end, and it was such a beautiful way to close the
Very
show.
cool.
One of my favorite,
Yeah.
endings to a show ever
Yeah.
in my life.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Man. That's so cool. That's so cool.
So that was Fête de la Musique for me. I think predominantly, Ibadan blues. Yeah.
That's very, very cool. Now, I mean, just from talking and knowing your chronology, this was all during your studies or coming to the end of your studies?
This was coming to the. I think I had exams at the time. To be fair.
Well, so you're busy, but you're a busy man.
I mean, I've always I've got crazy stories from 2019, where it's my final year of undergrad, in law. I'm going from the studio to
the lecture hall.
to like the exam hall, and I still get like an A in the course.
Cool.
And I'm so I think it's not. I wouldn't imagine. I think I tell people I'd rather be tired than bored. I'd rather be restless and without a sense of
cool.
Yeah.
Now, okay, this intrigues me so much. So let's talk about your studies and dedication to the legal profession, and what's inspired you in that world?
Well, what inspired me, man? Good question. Honestly, I think I'll take you back to Ibadan.
Yeah.
I'll take you back to perhaps the quality of the books I was reading while I was observing.
Yeah.
And there's a particular book by a South African author. His name is Peter Abrams. The book is called Tell Freedom.
Okay.
I'm going to say that book was what, fucked me up. I don't know if you're allowed to use French. It was just, the very young me just getting really exposed to the concept of life outside of myself.
Yeah, of course.
And the question of appetite in South Africa. And I think that would really just define my life, define my life in relation to, of course, the type of poetry I was writing, the type of stories. I mean, my mother is a lawyer, but, she deals with very general aspects of law. Yeah. But, me telling myself, this is going to be human rights. It's going to be about, people. Yeah. It was no debate, going to uni, studied law. Afterwards, I came here, that's when I had the whole Serpentine, era. Alongside the music as well, at the same time.
And now you're doing a PhD.
I'm doing a PhD.
Now you're doing a PhD in...
So that's it.
Yes. Now we talked about... Yes, yeah. I want you to define it.
Yeah. So my master's in Switzerland was in international human rights law.
Sure.
In humanitarian law, which is the law of warfare. But I sat down in my class one day, and I think it's just my life filled with discoveries. And I was like, wait a minute. It does appear that the concept of the law in itself... it appears that it only criminalizes a certain type of people. It appears that when we speak about the law of warfare, most of the people who have, sort of been indicted by the International Criminal Court happen to come from my continent. It appears that when it's folks from the Middle East, it's terrorism. But when it's, from the West or from America, there are certain exceptions to these rules. And it just made me realize how much the law in itself is really, it's pretty much what the superstructure says it is.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, of course.
Do you know who passed away today?
Who did?
Dick Cheney.
Ah.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. So, obviously, the gentleman who pushed for the invasion of Iraq.
Yeah.
After post 9/11.
Yeah.
One of the architects of that whole war. I know we have a big audience in America, so I'm probably going to annoy some people. My first thought was, he got away with it. Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about, International Criminal Court going for people from the continent,
Which is why I tell you, you see why coming out of that classroom for me and seeing that happen felt like, so what am I introduce myself to the world a certain type of way.
Yeah.
But it appears that the connotation of that is, suits and ties and, lengthy procedures that don't actually transmit to justice. And I'll be honest with you, because I understand my people. My people want the flair. My people, I don't want to say they want me to deceive them, which is why I told you I go back to Nigeria and I feel the same level of hurt. But I'm like, I am beyond this. I know Fela was sent to London to study, medicine, and then he went to music. But I feel deeper than just buzzwords and just, Ayomide has got a role at the UN. when they are in fact like very deep issues to look into. So I think it was that classroom in Geneva, because at some point in time I just had to stop my international law professor as this British Italian. I'm like, can we have a conversation? Like, this is not as equitable as you sort of present it to be. And how exactly could we rectify this? Because I always want answers. I think perhaps one of my biggest flaws is dedicating this life, which is the only chance that I get to searching for these answers. So I think this sort of segues into my PhD,
which is okay now.
Yeah. So I think it was right in that classroom I told myself, you know what, this is my last law degree. Yeah. This is my last law degree. I'm going to have to look, perhaps more into the concept of international politics and how exactly, policies, how these things are framed, what goes into these laws, as opposed to just studying text that do not necessarily transmit to any form of change for the people. And how exactly can we change these laws? Because the world is more political than legal.
Yeah.
So even up until yesterday night, I went up to North London to see my mom, and she's like, she still lives in denial that I'm not doing a PhD in law. She's got 2 PhDs, by the way.
Yeah. Do you know, I know another Nigerian gentleman who's a doctor.
I know.
Yeah, my sister just got her PhD.
Whoa!
Oh, I'm lagging behind.
Congratulations! Too many PhDs around you. You need to. My mother's got 2 PhDs, and I haven't seen her in a while. And then, I tell her, oh, how you doing? All that. And she's like, you're doing a PhD in law. I've told you this like over and over. I am not doing a PhD in law. But just really, and of course, it's not for you to live your life excessively idealistic and not to understand the intricacies of the world that you live in. Like when you said you formed a production company earlier, I could relate to that, creating a bit of, would I say, structure?
Yeah, of course.
Around the ideas that you have. But doing a PhD in public in at the African Leadership Center, actually in King's College London, and also more importantly, looking at very strategic ways in which all of the ideas we speak about, and also get paid for it.
Yeah, of course.
You also get paid for it. But that's perhaps what my PhD is about.
So would you say it's in African policy?
So I am, as much as global South politics is a huge aspect of what I'm doing. I am concentrating on a system. I hope I don't bore people right now. This is where I become a nerd.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
So I'm investigating a system called Neopatrimonialism, or patronage politics, and it is how we are ruled in where we come from, because we live in multi-ethnic states, and where have they become multi-ethnic? Because the colonizers, as far back as 1884, in 1884 to 1885 thereabout in Berlin, had the partitioning of Africa.
The scramble for Africa.
Which is very arbitrary.
And
just off whatever interest they had, and where they placed the flags.
I mean, as they say, that conference, 1884, 1885 Berlin conference, known as the Scramble for Africa, wasn't attended by any Africans, and it was where the Europeans essentially divvied up Africa for themselves.
And the result of that is you look at the instability we face.
Of course,
You look at the issues we have with resource extraction and all these things, and why we don't seem united. Or have like a united front on a global stage, is because
divide and conquer was the methodology, and it was I hate to say it, a pretty successful one as well.
Still successful, and because I also studied international law, and you see how that's the way the textbooks or the law, or even academics in itself, seem to dance around questions.
Yes, of course,
and not necessarily answer it. So the question of self-determination, which is the right for you to secede and have perhaps, independent African states from, some of these tribes and ethnicities is very much problematic. And let me give you a case in point. For instance, you go to Germany, the majority are white Germans. You go to Britain, and, we have the issue with, Niger of Farage perhaps, coming up soon. You have, you can almost point out to some former majority. But when you create certain states, and Nigeria, I think, is the second most multi-ethnic state in the world. When you create these states, and you have this very historically strong empires and strong kingdoms within the same context of a loose Weberian concept of states. That's a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe for disaster. So the concept of power transition, the concept of folks getting to power. When people speak about the concept of corruption, sometimes it's almost,
well, now it's our turn.
Yeah, exactly. And even when it's our turn, so that this other section of the country do not rebel and, pick up arms, now we need to
take care of them a little bit, maybe.
Exactly. And what is taking care of them? Taking care of them is just taking care of the elites and doing that to the exclusion of the grassroots. And, so that in itself is our problem. And you look at the concept of Congo. You look at the question of all those countries. Lots of foreign powers, and not just the West in itself, even China, would come up with strategies in which they go to component tribes in places where these people control, resources. Go there and arm these people. Arm these people. Stoke the fire, arm these people so they fight against the government at the center of the state. Destabilize so that creates the cover for them to go and excavate these resources. And we're not talking about textbooks here. We're not talking about mere headlines. We're talking about actual people who get orphaned. There was a story that really touched me, and you saw the 20-minute documentary earlier about the TEDx performance I did. It was a story I read about a girl called Elodie, who was orphaned, I think, at 15. Had a little baby to still take care of at that age, and lived in one of these Congo camps where I think people get amputated or whatever for not being able to pick the requisite amount of bauxite?
It is
per day. And what they paid for this, about 60 cents per bag to pick up these resources.
It's all used in all the mobiles and laptops and everything.
And I had, because also I think the beautiful thing about Geneva is that, and also sad, is that these are the institutions that I was socialized to think would provide the answers to all the questions I had all my life. And I'm here, and I'm within these institutions, and I see that they are very inadequate, and deliberately so. And nothing is entirely happening. So my PhD actually investigates the concept of this system called Neopatrimonialism, and how, as much as I know it would be a savior's complex to think I could change it, but how exactly can I come up with, through research, through going down on the ground in Nigeria, to Niger Delta, to see how we could reform this and make it more accessible for the grassroots.
Well, it starts with the thought process and a conversation, and the dialogue has to be started, of course. And I think that's the least that one can do is start that conversation, and it sparks others into the conversation and brings it into the forefront. Very cool, man. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about it.
No. I was very curious because we've talked creativity, and I know you were very passionate about it when we talked briefly before. So I wanted to know about it. I'm very glad I asked that question as well. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man, I think these issues need to be mainstreamed, And it's perhaps the platforms for it.
It's interesting. I want to touch upon Burkina Faso recent times. What are your thoughts on Ibrahim Traoré? Yeah. I think it's.
Man, well, because I imagine the media coming for sound bites years to come, but I don't care. If Europeans can say God save the king for folks who have pilfered and sabotaged our place and still say that. Right now, November 2025, I could say God save the king for Captain Traoré in that regard, because I understand how governance on this level, especially when you're not dancing to the tune,
it can be a dangerous thing.
Yeah, and especially because here's the playbook. The playbook is actually to push you to become the very dictator that you sort of fought against and you rebelled against, and then, turn away the compassion of people like us, because I can imagine that what could perhaps happen are protests being started, and then he's, trying to sort of like quell that, for the sake of order or, public order, whatever that is. And then, of course, there'll be a lot of international press about that, if there are any casualties, and sort of demonize him, before our eyes.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's interesting from my point of view, listening to the Western press. Immediately as all this happened, it was just demonization. But when I read people in my circles talking about it, it's nothing but praise.
As a 27-year-old, and this happened like last month, I literally had to sit down and ask and literally go through headlines and go, was Idi Amin really a cannibal? And, I basically realized, and this was probably, because, these things, you, as a child, you're sort of like an indirect consumer of these things. Your parents are, you heard an environment around you, and that's the function of the press. And I remember the media was not very decentralized as it is right now. And then I realized, wait a minute.
What's really been going on? It wasn't.
And these were like headlines reinforced this. And this also formed the basis for how we saw, ourselves, also maybe perhaps any African leader. And I'm not saying, he wasn't guilty of certain human rights infractions. I'm saying the one thing I perhaps don't understand, and we should not condone, is the politicization of the concept of human rights.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, you mentioned Burkina Faso, which is really interesting. So an aspect, an angle to my research actually looks at how, so for instance, this also most people do not know, is that a lot of like UN institutions, and I'm actually delivering a talk in Oxford this month about this, a lot of UN institutions, like the Bretton Woods institutions, as well as like the WTO, actually oversee frameworks, like the TRIPS agreement, where there's a legitimization of we being never been producers and just been exporters of our resources. And the implication of that is that if you, for instance, if your biggest export is the cocoa, and then you're exporting it to perhaps a place like Switzerland, from Ghana.
And all the value is added when it's made into the raw product, into the final product.
It's sold back, and what you have is a balance of trade deficit. You export more, you export less, and you import a lot more, and this, obviously, leads to the debts that you have to deal with. But the thing is, a lot of us would usually think that, the reason why we're kept in perpetual poverty is based off political will. And I do feel like that in a sense, because, once any leader, any form of leader, tries to speak up, he understands that's his demise. So it's usually best for you to go into these spaces, following the same rule book, being the most terrible person to your people, not potentially, stirring things up more than you should, for the sake of your longevity. And this also ties back to what I told you about the concept of having these multi-ethnic societies. The moment you do the slightest thing of the rule book, it's easy to rally any tribe, ethnicity. It's the easiest thing. It's at the push of a button. So these are things that we perhaps have to look, into the concept of debts. World Bank and IMF. Why do we have leaders constantly borrowing? It can't just happen that coincidentally we are ruled by idiots all of the time. At least there has to be an exception, But it just so happens that the system,
is geared towards,
if it doesn't make an idiot, is tailored towards, housing idiots. And if you are wiser than an idiot,
you're in trouble.
You become a Lumumba. They do away with you. So. And I've also learned that conspiracy theories are the best way for you to sanction the truth. Socially, it's just, this is a mind warfare.
Call it a conspiracy.
But this is the subject of research. I have the data for days.
I want to read when you finished.
Oh man, 3 years.
I'm around.
if Farage doesn't throw me out the window.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. No, this has been really, really interesting, man. This really has. I'm very glad we could have this conversation. Yeah.
Same, man.
Yeah.
I hope it's not been so many things,
No, it's good. It's good. Well, I think we've covered a lot of things, man.
Yeah, same.
That's just really good. So I highly recommend to the audience that are listening or watching to check out your music. Make a note of your name, because I'm sure we're going to be having some papers to read in a few years.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see some live shows. We'll do some sneaky ones.
I can't admit to any sneaky ones on camera. I'm Nigerian,
Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you, definitely.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
It's been a real pleasure. Yeah, thank you. Man. Awesome.
Thank you, man.